The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Nobody's listening, no. Nobody's listening, no. Nobody wants to hear them speak. Nobody's listening, no. Nobody's listening. Nobody wants to hear them speak. Nobody wants to hear them speak. Nobody wants to hear them speak.
Thank you for downloading, streaming, or however it is that you listen to the Not Listening podcast. I'm Adam.
I'm Ash.
Yep, two of us today, and we're going to be talking about that little man that tried to blow up Parliament, Guy Fawkes.
Guy Fawkes.
Yeah, so very exciting episode today. So why don't you give us a tweet at Barker Podcast or at Not Listening Pod, and make sure you go to the website www.notlistening.co.uk. Right, on with the show, Ash. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
Hashtag not listening.
So I was actually looking up, because I know it's actually probably as far away from Guy Fawkes as we possibly can be right at the moment, considering that was in November,
What, in life?
in the period of year.
Yeah, but the beauty of podcasting, as you forget, is that people listen to this all year round. And we could have new listeners right now who listen to this on Guy Fawkes night.
Possibly, because they'll search for it under under Guy Fawkes.
Exactly.
We might even have Guy Fawkes as the title for the little mini episode.
Maybe. I mean, this
Yeah,
episode is, it's out there now.
Or we could call it George Bigglesworth.
Who the hell was George Bigglesworth? Or was that part of the conversation?
No idea.
Oh, you just made that up. I thought,
Just
I
made that up.
thought it was a trivia question. Like, who is George Bigglesworth? Guy Fawkes. Pub quiz. But it ain't, so don't ignore what I just said, because now everyone's going to go around thinking that now. Because now, even though I've told them that's not true, they're going to think in their head, Guy Fawkes, do you know what his real name was? George Bigglesworth. And it's one of them like misquoted sayings that's going to go around forever now.
So we can see in I don't know.
It's going to pop up in QI, with Stephen Fry one day.
They'll phone up one of the little QI elves and say, "Oi, I made that up."
I made that shit up. It's not true. Guy Fawkes is called Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
Or Guy Knives or Guy Spoons. Well, they changed it to Fawkes. That's why we're a comedy little podcast. Little comedy podcast. Making little comedy jokes. So, Ash.
Without canned laughter.
Yeah. Ash, we haven't got no will today, so if you want to geek out on Guy Fawkes, go for it.
I wasn't really going to geek out on him. I was just quite impressed with the amount of gunpowder he used.
Right, okay. So regular listeners will know that Ash likes to do a little bit of research every now and again.
When I can be asked.
When he can be asked. When he's not like brewing ultra strong beer in his meth lab. Or
I don't make it in a meth lab. I make it in a little brewery that I've set up.
brewery, little
Have a
brewery.
little brewery.
Have you still got it? Is it started?
Yeah. There's stuff brewing at the moment. There's another
Can I have some?
85 litres. You can have some next week.
Next week? I'm not here next week.
You might be.
Says who?
I don't know.
I'm busy. I'm a busy man.
Shit, you can't have any then.
Oh.
There'll probably be some left over for the next recording.
Better be.
Well, if not, you can take some of Will's.
I'll take it all. Will ain't here to tell me to stop me. He's just wandered off.
Yeah, well, as he's not here, I can give you his share.
Yeah, but don't tell him. Make sure he doesn't listen to this episode, right? So, so Ash likes to come up with some research and facts and stuff, and then he likes to tell me stuff to like make me more intelligent. That's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, it's like banging my head against a brick wall.
Education. That's what this podcast offers.
Yeah, occasionally.
It offers education. Like, if I'm learning something, the listeners learning something, I'm sure. So George Bigglesworth
So George Bigglesworth.
is not Guy Fawkes.
No.
All right, okay. So what do you mean gunpowder? Right, go. What are you talking about?
Well, he tried to blow up Parliament.
Yeah, I know. He's a terrorist.
Yeah.
He was a terrorist,
He was a
Ash.
terrorist.
He was a terrorist to this nation. And
Who we
seem
celebrate.
We seem to celebrate the fact that he tried to kill people. He was a murderer. He was a bad man.
Yeah. On the 5th of November in 1605, he decided to try and blow up Parliament. And who was it? King Charles I? See, I didn't research that bit.
He wanted to kill some king.
Yeah, I was better at looking and take out Parliament. I was just looking up how much explosives he used.
So he thought the best way of going against the Parliament because he thought they were corrupt.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, back in the 16th century, or would that be the 17th century? Because it's always
That's the 17th century.
Because it's always like the next
Yeah.
number on from the actual number it is. Yeah,
Yeah, so we are in the 21st.
we're in the 21st century, even though we're in the 20s,
Yes.
sort of thing. Right. Anyway, see, I'm learning.
Yeah.
Someone out there was probably listening
Year
along. Going,
one was in the first.
someone's like walking along and listening to this show, going, "Thank you, Adam. I never understood that."
now got another useless.
But now I know. So yeah, he thought, oh, do you know what? I'm sick of this corruption and shit. 'Cause that's how he talked. back
Yeah.
then. I'm fucking sick of it. And his mate said, Guy, why you going to blow him up? He's like, I ain't got a gun. He's got, I've got some powder. We can blow him up with some gunpowder.
Blow 'em up.
And he's like, oh, how much are you going to want? He's like, I don't know, I need a lot, don't I?
Well, he was actually a munitions expert in the Spanish army.
He was Spanish.
He worked in the Spanish army in their revolution.
But was he
Their
Spanish?
War. No,
Where was he from?
English.
Guildford or something?
He was English, but he wasn't the mastermind of it. He was just their explosives expert.
Well, so Guy Fawkes wasn't the man with the plan.
No,
So other
he was
guys...
the man with the barrels of gunpowder.
Who's out at the door?
Who's
Someone's
out
at
the
the
door?
door.
That might be Will.
Right, should we pause this and then come back to it?
Yeah, let's let him in.
Okay, Will's here now.
Hello.
Right, sorry, that tiny millisecond of a break. But we'll continue our chat about Guy Fawkes.
Yes.
Have you got anything to add before we continue, Will?
No, because I don't know what you've already said.
Right, so he wasn't the mastermind.
He wasn't the mastermind, no. He was just the munitions expert that came in. So they asked him how much gunpowder he wanted, and he turned around and told them that he wanted 36 barrels.
36 barrels.
36 barrels actually equates to 2.5 tons.
Bloody hell.
So he was going a bit overkill.
It's like the masterminds went into this bar and they were like, we're going to blow up Parliament, the corruption and the blah, 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 blah.
I think the difficulty there is you're using the term masterminds a bit
Yeah.
too fast and loose. I don't think any of the people involved in the gunpowder plot were all that bright.
Do you think they're all drunk or something?
No, I just don't think they were actually particularly clever. They knew gunpowder blew shit up. They knew they didn't want the people in Parliament.
So maybe what they did then, this is it. They walked in there like, I'm sick and tired of this shit and crap that's going on in Parliament. Should we blow it up? Yeah, this is gunpowder. Who does gunpowder? That guy over there. Should we ask him? He'd do it. Yeah, all right. Guy, fancy blowing up saying, yeah, I love gunpowder. Let's do it.
That's
Exactly.
basically it.
Well, basically what he would have said
Transcript.
was something like, si, senor.
So he was Spanish.
I think so.
Yeah.
We discovered this. So he wasn't sure if he was
I
definitely
wasn't
Spanish.
sure if he was actually... I knew he fought for the Spanish army.
I
wasn't sure if
believe
was Spanish.
he was
I think he
Guido. Because his
Guido
actual name was
Fawkes, he
Guido.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there
believe
we go.
he was a Spanish.
So he was...
We have confirmation.
He was
Spanish.
No, you have another person that always goes, yeah, I reckon
Yeah.
he probably was.
Right, so you don't think he was. You think he was.
I think I wasn't sure whether he was or not, but I knew he fought for the Spanish army.
So let's just say he was French, yeah? Just to stop confusion. Again,
Just
to
say
create another, like,
You
non-fact.
anarchist.
So,
But anyway, so this 36 barrels that he ended up getting, they've actually done some calculations on it. One of the universities in the UK has actually tried to plan out how it would have what would have actually happened if they did it, and they've actually worked out that was about 25 times the amount of gunpowder he actually needed.
right, okay.
So if he'd only put in his sort of 6 barrels,
It's kind of like you and your barbecues, Ash.
yeah.
Well, you
You've
could
probably
be
got meat for 3
The amount
months
of,
after.
the amount of gunpowder I use on my barbecues. Wow. Instant roast.
The stakes are high.
Oh,
And that's why I'm here.
he's it. That's it. We let him in.
But yeah, he could have walked in with his 6 barrels just tucked under his arm.
Yeah.
That still would have been overkill, and then lit them off and blown it all up and got away, rather than having to load 36 barrels in.
Oh, there you
'Cause
go.
That was 2.5 tons, 2,500 kilograms.
So he just didn't know what he was doing, really, did he?
No, he wanted to make sure. That was actually enough to take out 490 metres of
Ooh.
buildings.
The thing is, they were down in the cellars, aren't they?
They were down
weren't
in the cellars,
So it's
but that
about
would've-
the blast, the
It would
upwards
have gone
blast as much as
straight
anything.
up.
Yeah.
And it would have actually seriously destroyed the whole lot and taken out probably Whitechapel area as well. And if you were standing, what was it, about a third of a mile away,
Yeah.
all the windows around you would have broken with the shockwave.
To be
Yeah,
honest,
back in them
Windows,
days.
they were a bit shit.
I was
weren't
gonna
they?
say,
None of that
But back in
double glazing.
that's a modern window.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, because back
So
then it
back
didn't have
in
double
those
glazing.
I was
It
going to
probably
say,
would have
back in
done-
those days, it wouldn't have broken any modern windows.
No. It could have been such a big explosion. It travelled through time.
It just keeps going. You still feel it today.
Yeah, all those earthquakes.
So, in summary,
In summary, he went overkill and he took too long to load up his stuff, so he got caught. And then they tried to hang, draw, and quarter him, but they didn't manage to.
what did they do to him in the end?
When he was on the gallows to do the hung bit, so that you get, because hung, drawn, and quartered, you get hung until you're fairly dead, but not completely dead.
Right.
You're knackered, and then they cut you innards out and.
Yeah,
draw
I've seen Game of Thrones.
all
I
of
know
that
how
kind
it
of
works.
crap, Yeah, but what he did was, while he was on the gallows, he actually jumped off while the noose was round his neck and broke his neck and killed himself.
Oh, suicide.
So they didn't get a chance to actually do the really painful stuff.
Is that a mortal? Because back then, because they were all very religious, would that have been a mortal sin and he'd go to hell? Whereas if they'd let him do it, he'd let him do it to him, he'd have been fine and passed the gates of heaven.
I don't know, actually. That's one.
I'll tell you what.
That's one to ask St. Peter when you get up there.
I tell you what.
No, just knock on the door of your local church
Tell you what, listeners, why don't you work that one out yourself?
and don't bother telling us.
Hey, if you're on Twitter, why don't you follow me at Barker Podcast or Not Listening Pod? You can't follow these two motherfuckers because they don't tweet, do ya, Will? There you go. That's them not tweeting. At Barker Podcast or at Not Listening Pod. Fuckers, you're supposed to say something in that bit.
Oh, sorry.
Nobody's listening.